On a bright ordinary morning when the city hummed with its usual rush, a moment unfolded inside a sunlit luxury auto garage that would change two lives forever. A billionaire woman dressed in polished elegance and surrounded by cameras and assistants stepped into a world she had never cared to understand, one where dirt, sweat, and real struggles clung to every corner. As the sunlight reflected off her glossy red sports car and danced across the workshop floor, it illuminated a poor mechanic wiping oil off his hands, unaware that the next few minutes would test everything he believed about worth, dignity, and wisdom. In that moment, the world held its breath because life sometimes collides two people, not to shame one, but to awaken the other. If you believe in kindness, humility, and second chances, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel Kindness Thread to support stories that make the world softer. The mechanic's name was Daniel, a man who carried years of silent hardship etched into the lines of his face. He wore old boots with torn laces and a shirt stained by more days of work than he cared to count. Life had never been generous to him, but he had learned to survive its storms with quiet patience. Daniel had lost his father young, taken responsibility for his sick mother, and sacrificed every dream he once held for a life he never chose. Yet he worked with steady hands and honest effort, repairing engines while the rest of the world sped past him, never once noticing the men behind the grease. On the other side of life stood the billionaire Vanessa Hartley, known for her empire of investments and her flawless image splashed across business magazines. She lived in penthouses above the clouds, traveled in private jets, and was accustomed to people bending for her slightest whims. She never meant harm, but privilege had wrapped her so tightly that she no longer saw the invisible people who kept her world functioning. That morning, she entered the garage with her friends, all dressed in expensive coats, carrying the arrogance of wealth without realizing how sharp it looked from the outside. They walked in laughing lightly about trivial things, their steps echoing across the workshop. When Vanessa saw Daniel standing near her car, she found amusement in the contrast. The billionaire and the greasy mechanic. She smirked, nudged her friend, and without truly thinking, she tossed out a question meant as a joke. A question that would cut deeper than she intended. She asked him for financial advice, expecting humor, not wisdom. The assistants chuckled. Her friends gave each other knowing looks, and for a moment, the garage felt colder than it had seconds ago. But Daniel did not respond immediately. He simply looked at her, his eyes calm but heavy with the weight of experiences she had never lived. He could have ignored it, could have quietly swallowed the humiliation the way he had swallowed 1,000 small insults before. But something about the brightness of the day, the openness of the garage, and the memory of his struggling mother made him choose truth instead of silence. His life had been full of lessons paid for with pain, and he would not let them go to waste. He lifted his head slowly, took a breath that steadied both his voice and his heart, and answered her, not with arrogance, anger, or resentment, but with the honesty of a man who had nothing left to prove. He spoke about the value of savings, not measured in money, but in moments, of investing not in material things, but in people who stand with you in your darkest days. He described how real wealth comes from waking each morning with integrity and going to bed with peace. He spoke of the importance of humility, of remembering where you came from, and of treating every person with the dignity you'd want for yourself if life ever took everything from you. The garage grew still. The laughter faded. Even the humming machine seemed to quiet down as Vanessa listened, her confidence slowly melting into something softer, something she hadn't felt in years. His words reached places inside her she didn't show the world. She thought of the night she cried alone despite all her riches, of the people she trusted who had betrayed her, and of the emptiness she felt even when surrounded by luxuries. For the first time in a long time, she felt truly seen, but not for her wealth, for her humanity. And it shook her. Daniel's voice stayed steady as he shared how he budgeted every small paycheck to keep his mother's medication going. How he learned to fix engines by taking apart broken radios as a boy, how he saved coins for months to buy his sister a birthday gift, she still kept to this day. He wasn't teaching her about money. He was teaching her about life. And though Vanessa had everything he did not, she realized she had missed the lessons that truly mattered. When he finished, the silence stretched across the workshop like a warm breeze. Vanessa's friends stood frozen, their earlier amusement replaced by guilt and awe. Vanessa herself felt something shifting inside her, something deep and humbling. She looked at him with new eyes, not as a mechanic, not as someone beneath her, but as a man who held wisdom she had spent her whole life chasing in all the wrong places. That day, Vanessa did something she hadn't done in years. She apologized from the heart, not a polite gesture, not a rehearsed corporate statement, but a genuine acknowledgement of her mistake. And then she asked him, not mockingly, but sincerely, if he would teach her more, not about money, but about living with humility, kindness, and clarity. Daniel nodded, unsure how this strange twist of fate would unfold, but somehow knowing it mattered. Over the next months, Vanessa visited the garage more often. She learned to fix small parts of engines, not because she needed to, but because she wanted to feel connected to something real. She brought Daniel's mother better medication, arranged scholarships for his sister, and offered to buy him a new workshop, something he declined politely, choosing dignity over charity. But he did accept one thing: friendship. An honest, respectful friendship that changed them both. And perhaps the most surprising part was how Vanessa herself changed. She began treating her employees with deeper kindness, restructuring her company to support those struggling at the bottom. She started speaking publicly not about wealth strategies but about empathy, about remembering the people behind the scenes who make everyday life possible. And every time she did, she remembered the morning light in that garage, the steady voice of a poor mechanic, and the lesson that had cost him nothing yet given her everything. Months later, on another bright day, Vanessa stood outside the garage again, watching Daniel work with the quiet pride of a man who finally saw his value through someone else's eyes. She realized then that the world measures success in money but life measures it in heart. She had spent years chasing one and in just minutes he had shown her the other. If this story touched your heart, please like, share and subscribe to Kindness Threads so these real emotional stories can continue inspiring others. Before you go, comment below. Kindness is real. And remember, sometimes the poorest people carry the richest wisdom, and sometimes one honest moment is all it takes to change a life forever.